Go ahead, please.
My name is Colleen Weavido. I am with Baker Tilly. I received my MBA from George Mason with a concentration in accounting. I've been with Baker Tilly for about 12 years. The first 8 years of my career, I did both tax and audit, and I currently just do audit and assurance now, and I focus in the commercial real estate industry.
Good morning. My name is Amy Thorne. I am a partner with BDO. BDO is an international accounting and advisory firm, so we have offices all over the globe throughout the United States. Our local office is here in McLean, Virginia. We have just over 400 people in that office, and we represent within that office a wide variety of practice areas, so audit and core tax, as well as a variety of specialty tax services, and we have an advisory practice of about 60 people in our office, so great resource for us and for our clients. So happy to be in that office. I've been with BDO for about 6 years. I merged into BDO with another regional accounting firm at that time, so I've been in public accounting my entire career since I graduated from George Mason. So I'm very happy to be here. And my area of focus is in government contracting. So my clients are privately held companies that are primarily doing business with the federal government. So some unique aspects to that industry, and that's my area of focus. And I'm the practice leader on the audit side for the government contracting practice. And we also, within our local office, focus on nonprofit clients, technology and life sciences clients, and just a variety of commercial businesses, including public companies. So thank you for having me.
And I'm AJ Eshley with Clifton Larson Allen. I've been with the firm for about 12 years now, and I serve in the financial services arena, so banks and credit unions and broker-dealers and that sort of thing. I graduated from Mason here with both my accounting bachelor's as well as my MBA. So spent a lot of years in these walls, just like you guys are. Glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Ann Kale. I'm with Carney & Company. We're a regional accounting firm. We're about 800 employees, mainly here in the D.C. area, and we're focused exclusively on the federal government. So all of our clients are civilian and DoD agencies, primarily in financial management consulting and audit. I've been in the federal space for about 8 years, and I'm a senior manager with the firm.
Hi, my name is Javier Perez Navarrete. I'm with PwC. Been with the firm for 4 years, primarily on banking and capital markets. I currently start a new role, which is focusing on digitalizing the audit. So currently I'm working with BCM clients to look for ways that we can automate the audit practice and also learn new tools that could potentially make the audit process a little bit more efficient and effectively.
I'm Erin Kidd from Thompson Greenspun. We're actually here in Fairfax. We've been here about 60 years. We do audit and assurance and tax, as well as some business advisory services. We have about 60 staff, and I would say probably 20 of them are GMU alum. I actually have a bachelor's in marketing and a master's in business administration. I came into accounting kind of sideways as an accredited financial counselor and received my enrolled agent. I specialize in individual taxation, international reporting, and then I also work with policies and procedures and running various programs that we have at our firm.
Hi, I'm Kim McGatlin. I'm with the Government Accountability Office. I started my career with the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco as an assistant bank examiner and spent a few years there. At the time, passed the CPA exam and couldn't get licensed in California based on that experience, so I jumped to one of the big four firms, spent about 4 or so years between the San Francisco and the McLean office, and then about 16, 17 years ago left to go to the Government Accountability Office, where I've been ever since. I'm actually in the Financial Management and Assurance team, which is the one team in GAO that does do financial audits. We also do performance audits, and we also set the standards. You talked about the yellow book in your classes or the green book. We're the ones that write those and field the questions. So.
Okay, so I'm going to open to questions. Feel free to ask any particular person on the panel, or you can just pose your question to everybody who will feel comfortable in answering that question.
Don't be scared. Feel free to ask any questions.
You're going to be sitting here about 10 minutes. Good.
Thank you for coming here, first of all.
And could you introduce yourself and whether you're senior, junior, or...
I'm a junior. I'm a finance major at GMU, and one of my first questions was, what are some emerging fields in accounting that come out every day? How do you go on about telling someone that they should go here and they should focus in this area because it's new, it's emerging, it's going to come up and just going to go big one day?
I would say I see trending in accounting in itself is probably data analytics. You see that a lot, the big data, analyzing that for businesses, and also probably blockchain. You're going to see that related to audits, I think, is probably where you're going to see it. I don't know what you guys have seen.
Yeah, I agree. I get questions from students often of how relevant are people going to be in auditing in the future, which I think that the relevance will still, always be there for people. But I think that data analytics is going to have a big impact in the way that we audit and probably in the way we prepare tax returns and do a lot of our other tasks too. And so it's going to allow the people to be more effective in providing more value add to our clients. So I think that it's going to create a trend where our clients are going to expect more from the audit process and from the tax preparation process. So really kind of giving us just another way to build on that trusted advisor relationship when we're doing something that's more compliance related. But I think any firm that's not focused on data analytics is going to be behind. So it's certainly something that's coming up, and it's just creating a more, and I think that regulators and standard setters, the AICPA, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, CAOB, everyone is going to be expecting more from the audit process as a result. So we have to be on the cutting edge of that.
I would also have to say cybersecurity is really just exploding out there. Our IT team, who helps support our financial audits but also handles things on their own, they have a huge hiring goal for just cybersecurity experts because of the impact throughout the federal, state, and local governments, the amount of money, and the issues.
So I think the common theme, technology.
Yeah, right.
But can I ask you, Colleen or Amy, explain what data analytics is? Because we're not really offering too many classes in data. In our information system, the instructor introduces that topic, so some of our students may not know about that.
Right. So it's basically using software tools to gather a larger amount of data and analyze the data in ways by reading it in different formats, importing it in different formats, making it something that can conform to all of our different clients' accounting systems, and using that as a way to put the information out and do a lot of the scanning and analysis with a computerized tool versus people having to do that. And, using that as a form of risk assessment when we plan audits, using it as a way of testing when we're actually conducting the audits, and then, in the value add information that we gather to clients, whether it's benchmarking against other clients or, other companies in similar industries, and being able to build that all into our audit process.
Hi, my name is John Garrity. I'm a finance major. I was wondering what a typical day at your job is like.
So I think it ranges by levels, right? So you would come in as a staff, and as a staff, it's just understanding what's going on, right? Like getting your, everything in line. And then as you start understanding the process, it's taking on more responsibility. And you would be surprised as you move up in your career how much more you are interacting with people. A lot of people think, like, as accountants, for me, we sit in an office and we just have our head down typing away and I'm crunching numbers. I will tell you, this week alone, I know what's Thursday, I was in my office for an hour crunching numbers. Everything else is in front of my clients, talking about their business, seeing what they're doing. So I think you'll be surprised, like, as you grow in your career, how people-oriented it is.
Hello, I'm Chance. I'm a freshman, a marketing major. Is there any obligation that your work puts on you outside of the work week?
I mean, I'll start. At GAO, generally, no. And I'm going to say that generally. You know, and actually I was just looking today at, it popped up that 10 years ago was when the whole financial crisis hit, really. And it's typically unheard of, except for extenuating circumstances that we're in on a weekend or late at night. But when the bank issue happened and they did the TARP fund, and we were under requirements to do performance audits, which is a little bit different, but do performance audits and issue out reports every 60 days, we were at Treasury doing an exit meeting on a Saturday with the Secretary of Treasury. It's not a usual circumstance. And Recovery Act, when they were pumping the billions and billions of dollars out to states, we, again, were under a 60, 90-day reporting requirement, and we had 16 teams out in various states, and so we were doing twice-a-week phone calls at 8 o'clock at night to touch base and update and, you know, find out what was going on and be able to prepare the reports. So that's unusual. Public accounting, I hate to say, was a bit different for me.
Depends on the time of year.
It does. And I was in California in the late 90s, which was when the tech boom exploded, so that was a different factor.
I would say in public accounting, it depends on the time of year or what you've got going on. I know, you know, February through April 15th-ish, I'm working 65 hours a week, and that's because our firm limits the number of overtime hours that they want our staff to work. Other places will tell you it's 65 billable hours. It just depends on what your firm's culture is. But we also get Fridays off in the summer in my firm, so it kind of makes up for that a little bit. As you get, you know, further along in your career, you're going to have other obligations. You're going to have you're going to decide to do some networking type events. You're going to reach out to people and do other things. And they're not so much obligations as they are opportunities. So that's one way to think about it.
I agree. I think the requirements outside of the work week, you know, probably if you're talking about a work week as of 40 hours, you know, this, I think in any role at times during the year, it's a demanding profession, and, you know, you might have times where there's more hours to put in, or you begin to get into roles within the community that maybe are somehow linked to your firm, but those tend to be, like you said, opportunities or sort of fun things to do. But one thing I will say about public accounting is, even though it's can be pretty demanding at times in terms of workload and hours, we have so much flexibility now that I think is certainly when I started, you know, it was much different. And to me, having flexibility allows you to do something that's really exciting and dynamic, and it is a lot of work, but you can make it work because you have a lot of flexibility and you don't have to be sitting in an office for, you know, 12 hours a day in order to get your work done. You can be flexible in how you get your work done. So.
The ability to work remote. We have a program to help deal with compression. I actually have 2 seasonal employees. They're military spouses. One's in Oregon, one's in Delaware. We had one in Alaska. Our firm has it set up where we don't have mandatory Saturdays to get those hours in. You can work from home. We have an ability to remote in. So that's kind of nice to be able to do a little bit in your PJs rather than on the road driving in.
I think if you mean extracurricular requirements outside the work week, setting aside the fact that we all work overtime, it's part of our industry. At least from a Kearney perspective, we really, really encourage extracurricular activities. We're going to organize happy hours. We're going to set up, you know, sports teams, certainly things in the community that are charitable. But those are, for us, they're all opportunities. It's not required, but certainly the leadership takes note. And you're going to rise faster the more involved you make yourself.
Can you explain what you mean by opportunity? Because maybe you go out and, interact with clients and you have activities in the community, it creates opportunities for the firm as well. Can you give us an example?
Well, I work exclusively with the federal government, so we don't do a ton of client networking because we're not allowed to. But I would say for us, something like this is a huge opportunity because I'll leave here today, hopefully with some names of some students that want to come and join us later. And this was something that was optional for me to do, but I added it on to my work week because it's something that I believe in and that I want to push forward for the firm. Maybe someone else could speak to the client facing.
I think it's like what Colleen said. This is so much about people. And so all of these opportunities to go out and network, to come to a school and talk to students, to go to a happy hour and meet folks that are in different practice areas in the firm, or to attend a charitable event together and, do a community service project together. It's just all ways to meet and interact people and begin building a network. Already right now you're building a network and you continue to build that network of relationships, and your network is everyone. It's family, it's friends, it's business associates, it's clients, it's people that you work with. And so even right now, you're building that foundation. And so that's where those opportunities come in. This gives us all an opportunity to meet each other and talk. We all work in the same industry. So those are the things. And it just with myself, an example of that is when I was attending George Mason, I was working part-time as an intern for a government contractor, and I was in their accounting department kind of floating around as a year-round intern. And there was a person there that was the controller. His name's Chris Carson, and he's now been my boss for 25 years, and he's about to retire because he left and went to a firm, and I started with that firm when I graduated. And, now I'm a partner at BDO. So just that relationship that long ago was kind of what started my whole career path. So it's just...
You said the key word there, though, twice. You said relationship. Because the accounting world, particularly public accounting, it's not a numbers business, it's a relationship industry. So these people trust you with their financial information to help guide their businesses, to tell them policies and procedures and internal controls to put in place. But it's all about trust and having that. So if you're able to relate to people on a personal level, if you're involved in causes that you care about, that comes through as authentic, and then that creates a moment to create a relationship. And you also go into it not looking for what you can get out of it. You go in, how can you help people? And that's really what we're all about, is how can we help you?
And on that note of relationships, usually you build a relationship in unexpected matters. Like the reason I started at PwC was an adjunct professor. I used to teach at PwC, and I didn't even take the course. I was just participating in events like this and started getting a discussion with her, who then referred me to kind of get inside the door. Because PwC started kind of building their brand at George Mason for probably in the last 5 years, 3 or 4 years. So we didn't have that big of a presence, but I was able to get through the door by just unexpectedly started to have discussions with professors or just friends or families. And that's kind of how you build that rapport that kind of gets you sometimes where you want to go, and sometimes you just help that individual that might have something that you can provide to them.
I think the panel gave you great tips here about networking and the value of networking right now where you are, and then later on as an accounting professional. And these relationships and the trust you establish with clients generates new business for the firm. And generating new business and bringing new clients to the firm is what you get points for, and that helps you promote in the firm and make you a partner. So relationships is a big part of this profession, and establishing trust with clients is a big part of this profession.
Hi, I'm T. I'm a junior, and my major is accounting. So, can I ask, what are the typical requirements that you want on the accounting? What you want, they want to have. If I want to work, what I need to build to make the requirement that to go in your company.
I think the one thing that I probably started learning more this year is continuous learning. just be willing to. You do a lot of learning, obviously, in the university within this walls, but right as soon as you walk outside, you still have to continue learning. And your field might become more dynamic, things start changing, so you want to stay on top of those things. So always be willing to learn, and also be detail-oriented, that's expected in our profession, and have good relationships, be able to communicate in a concise manner, be able to, if you have a point, be able to express it so other people can understand it. Sometimes the accounting terminology, we understand it as professionals. However, if you try to explain that to somebody who's not a professional, it might become a little bit more daunting. So it's just a matter of looking for ways to express yourself so you can connect with people and relate. But I think the number one thing is definitely be willing to learn. We're at a point in time, like the first question that was asked was related to technology. My background was in accounting and finance. Now I'm trying to kind of catch up as far as the technology side and start learning new things. So I kind of have to put myself in a student perspective again to start to learn all these new tools that potentially are being implemented in our practice that can help our clients deliver a more efficient audit.
Yeah, I think one thing I would add too is that the soft skills of being able to manage projects and tasks. And so you all are obviously attending a great school, you're getting a great education, and if you're demonstrating that you're getting good grades and making your way through your classes, we're going to feel very comfortable about your technical abilities. But what tends to trip students up, I think, when they're first entering the workforce is the ability to juggle and prioritize and really be a task manager. And you have the opportunity as you go through your career to learn how to do that. But there's some fundamental skills that are really helpful to have in the beginning. So I know when we speak with students, we really like to see that they can demonstrate how they've been practicing that throughout their career at school. And of course, there's some level of it inherently that you have to do in order to even make it through, and get your degree. But then there's another level of that, demonstrating the other things that you have to balance in your life, whether it's work, extracurricular activities, sports, and how you like to manage and juggle that.
I would just, go ahead. Other than just also like continuous learning, like thinking education-wise, but just also learning, keeping open to just different opportunities that might present themselves. Because you never know. I mean, the variety of work that I've done in the last 17 years at GAO is amazing to me when I sit back and look at the various federal programs I've touched on and such. But, I've just been fortunate. I think I always tend to say yes, and willingness to learn a different agency or a different program or topic, like grants versus financial management issues. So those, I think can really pay off.
I think one thing that I wish I had heard more in school was that we write a lot. Mm-hmm. Who went into accounting to not write? And it's like a dirty secret in our industry. You're gonna write findings for your clients. You're gonna write a lot of super professional emails to important people that you need to triple check, and the tone of your emails is so important. We write memoranda. I think Erin mentioned that she's writing financial management policies. I mean, it's a lot of writing. Your writing skills are really important.
Be willing to take some constructive criticism and the feedback that you get. It's hard to have those conversations when you're on the receiving end. It's really hard to have those conversations when you're giving the feedback too, because you just want someone to improve if you're getting that information. So try to remember that side of the puzzle too, that when you get feedback, that it's probably an uncomfortable conversation on both sides of the table.
So I would say it probably feels overwhelming. You've got to know technology, you've got to have soft skills, you've got to be well-rounded, you've got to talk to everyone, you've got to write, right? Like, probably feels overwhelming that's all thrown at you. So one of the things I would suggest is, you're probably thinking, well, I'm a college student, how do I practice these things? And how do I get into the industry to understand what they're talking about? And I'm sure you've heard the word externships or spend-a-day type things. And so I would highly suggest to do as many of those to understand what we're actually talking about. And so externships are like a day or two. You could get 10 next year and really understand and view the firms and the cultures and understand what we're actually talking about when it comes to writing and the technology part. And then those lead into internships to just make sure that you like accounting as well.
Hi, I'm Diana. I'm a sophomore accounting major. And I was just wondering if you guys thought it was possible to become a full-time accountant while you're still in college.
So I was a full-time athlete when I was in college. So I played volleyball at George Mason University. So that probably, let's say, it's a huge time commitment. So I had to allocate my time to be able to kind of also perform at a high level as a Division I athlete and also be a student. So to become a full-time accountant as far as in college, the time requirements or 40 hours a week might be very hard to accomplish. However, you can start preparing yourself for it and getting your step through, get one step in the door. So like Colleen was mentioning, if you want to start getting an externships or internship, and Amy also mentioned that she was working in a government contracting role when she was in college. So start finding those kind of, call it internship positions in college that can prepare you to, once you graduate, start a full-time role. But as far as a full-time accountant in college, I would say probably not because of the time requirements. But there is time that you can dedicate outside of your curriculum to kind of prepare yourself for the career.
Yeah, and if you can find a firm that will work with you while you're still in college, that's what I did. I was a junior at George Mason when I started working at the accounting firm, and I think I worked anywhere between 30 to 35 hours a week, and I took night classes to make it work. So if you find a firm that's willing to work with you, and I know we have a few in our DC office that are still in college and they do exactly that, that's a great opportunity because then it helped me pay for school, and it also gave me a great foot in the door.
Josephine, I am PwC. I am an experienced associate with the tax practice, and I kind of have the similar experience. I was working as an accountant for a government contractor while I was a full-time student at George Mason, but I would take my classes in the evening. And I was able to work with my employer where they would let me take classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the other days I would just work longer hours. So definitely that's a conversation you want to have with your employer, but it's definitely not easy.
Right.
I probably lost half of my friends. But yeah, if you're willing to put in the work, it's definitely possible.
I'm Alex. I'm a freshman finance major. I was wondering what qualities you look for the most in
I
an intern.
do you want to start?
No, go ahead. We're on the same page.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just someone who we talked earlier about just conversation and being able to interact with the other associates, being able to work within a team and, present in front of, not present like a presentation, but, present and speak with our clients. So it's really just a communication and, we really just look for people that we think fit in well and are likable and seem to like us and kind of fit in with the culture. And that's really the first step because as in an intern role, you're still learning so much on the technical side and even on the other skills. Both the accounting skills and also the writing and project management and all of that. So it's really just having a good interest in the industry and in the firm and the culture of the firm and wanting to start developing relationships and working with the teams.
The willingness to try is another thing. You're willing to try to do something, to take a stab at it, to take direction, try to do it, and if you run into a roadblock, think of a few solutions and maybe you ask someone, this is what I'm trying to do, I can't get it done, but I tried this, and this. Would these work? So also being able to be resourceful and find some things for yourself.
Yeah, to add on to that, just having a positive attitude and you're going to have a lot of questions as is expected, but one of the things that I value the most is when you have a question, also at least have a solution. So, yeah, so I don't know how to do this, but potentially I think this would be the solution to my question. And that shows that you're kind of like thinking through the process and not just like, oh, I don't know how to do this, you panic, kind of have the question and not really think past that. So just having a question, a possible solution, just to show that you're critically thinking about it, I think it's very helpful, along with the positive attitude, which I value probably the most out of anything.
I'm a senior accounting major. I wanted to ask, is there any technological skills that you see that when students come from our universities that they may be lacking or you think that should be better? Like, for example, Excel, it seems to be like it's a given. All of the students must know that, but maybe there's another software that is coming out that you think, oh, that would be good if students knew that or came with knowledge of that software program.
I would say that a lot of folks mentioned the data analytics, and there's different data analytical softwares out there that you can learn. It's probably not something that you can necessarily buy off the shelf because it's really expensive, but there's different training tools that are out there to at least show you and give you some introductory skill sets into what it looks like. The university might have some data analytic programs available. Some of them plug into Microsoft Excel, and so that might be an easy way. But again, I don't know what the school resources are. But I think the data analytic tools would be really helpful. And then also just learning more about Excel. Most people, when they come in, they say that they know Excel really well, and then you get them into a program and get them into a project, and it's like, okay, maybe you're at a 2 out of 10. So really, go onto YouTube and look up like really advanced Microsoft Excel skills and practice those, VLOOKUPs and all those kind of technical formulas. That would advance you pretty quickly, I think.
And I was going to say also the writing. I mean, I know it's been mentioned, but it is surprising. I know you've written papers and such, but it's a different type of writing that you're doing.
Yeah, so Tableau is a data visualization tool. Basically, it's to extract insights from any type of spreadsheet or data that you have, and it presents it in a manner that is easily to digest. And it's very easy to create a bar chart. If you want to create a bubble chart, there's all sorts of charts that I didn't even know existed. But Tableau makes it a very easy way of just creating visualizations so you can kind of provide information. But as far as like learning other tools, I would look for tools like they were mentioning. I don't know, Mason, what the resources are, but you have a big data set, or even if it's not big, where you can kind of automate the process. Or usually what happens, you get unstructured data from clients in all sorts of formats that you need to alter it and kind of clean it up, do some type of data analysis, manipulation, and you want to kind of present it in a digestible manner. So Tableau helps you with that data visualization, but you kind of want to clean the data before you can input it into Tableau. So there's other tools out there that can help you with that.
I would say even on the tax side, if you have a good understanding of QuickBooks, that would be helpful because you'll get, depending on the type of client you have, if you've got a small business or they're sole proprietorship or they're maybe a startup partnership, sometimes they don't even know how to set them up properly. And so then we receive that data and maybe we're doing, telling them they need to do adjusting journal entries or doing this thing. So if you're familiar with those, you're going to be able to add a little value to your client to tell them how to make those changes.
I think since you mentioned Tableau specifically, at our firm, we use it as sort of an on-top program. I don't think that its analytical power is as good as some of the other software on the market, but I think the data visualization piece of it is really unique. So we use different data analytics software, and then we sort of plug that into Tableau just for the visualization piece.
So I was just going to mention something. All our firms, there's a slew of software out there, so we don't use the same one. So when it comes to understanding data analytics and how to manage the Excel, that's really what you need to hone on, because until you get to a firm and understand what software they use, will you really be able to hone in on your skills on it. I mean, we probably don't use the same auditing software at all. And so it's once you get to the firm, but the basic Excel and managing and sorting, that's what really you need to figure out, because that is the ultimate input.
That's really important. So you guys, if you think of learning the software to make yourself more visible to firms, that's not how it works. Each company has its own software, and they develop their own software or they purchase their own software. So once you get there, you're going to be trained on that software. But understanding to work with big data, and we don't really teach that often. And I have good news for you. We are going to have good courses in data analytics, but all universities are just trying to catch up with this. It's not something that other universities are offering and we're not. So ability to work with big data. For instance, in Excel, you may be able to put together a one-page spreadsheet, but what if we give you 100,000 transactions? What are you going to do with that? So ability to use pivot tables, that tool in Excel, that's really important, and it's something that commonly is used. Or the lookup, we look up data. Or the ability to clean up data, because data is unstructured. You want to give it structure first. These are skills, and just Google it, and it's all over the internet. And really good, YouTube videos teach all of them. I mean, I'm constantly learning these things on my own. That's true. You don't have to take a class with that. But again and again, with various questions that you're asking, it comes back to soft skills often. When you ask about the internship, who asked about internship, being able to do internships. It actually working in firms as an accounting professional, at least 50% of that, I would say more than that, comes back to developing your soft skills. And that's not something we sort of teach you. For instance, we emphasize in classes communication skills. We ask you to get up and make a presentation. We ask you to write a lot of essays, and you all try to avoid that. Okay? You should be spending probably more time on your own, developing your own writing skills and interaction with team you're working with, and so on and so forth. I don't want to take time.
No, that's a good summary, I think.
Next question.
My name is Jonathan, junior, and I was wondering, for internships and resumes, I just started putting my resume on the university website, Handshake, for internships and stuff. And as an employer, what makes a resume stand out to you if you're just seeing the resume and not a person or anything like that?
I would say for me, it's extracurriculars. A lot of firms have a minimum GPA, and I look at that and I glance and go, great. I Javier was a student athlete, a full-time athlete. So that means a lot. I can multitask like you never know. So that on a resume, having some sort of job or volunteer or some sort of extracurriculars pops out most to me than a 3.9 GPA. And that's completely honest with you.
Yeah, I think the multitasking is the probably most critical, to say that you're in school, that's great, but what are you doing on the side and with your extra time? Because that's, once you get into the profession, that's the hardest thing, is juggling your professional and your personal life and keeping yourself sane. So understanding what you're doing on the side besides school is really helpful to point out in your resume.
Yeah, just it's being well-rounded and demonstrating that you're well-rounded, and your being well-rounded can be a lot of different things. It's not always work. It's not always it's not always sports. It can be a lot of different things. It can be church or community involvement, or whatever your thing is and your life is. Just being able to demonstrate how that makes you a well-rounded individual.
I usually get a lot of questions because people have a lot of frustrations on the federal government hiring side. And even though I'm in the legislative branch, we do follow the executive branch hiring, which involves using USA Jobs. And I'm sorry, I did not create it. And
because we need to talk.
Because it's painful. I'm sorry. But, and I know people get frustrated, but I'll be honest, in the way we have to approach it, but over 50%, probably close to 70% of the applicants to our internship program
I never even see because they don't attach a transcript. That's immediate. If you don't upload the transcript to USA Jobs, that's immediate. Like it doesn't go in. You could have the best looking resume out there, but I will never see it. Also, a lot of them, like us, they have some I'm going to call it mandatory. There's an essay question. And we specifically say in the announcement, don't say see resume or, because I know, take time to really, focus on and answer. Yes, you don't have a lot of experience, but you can draw upon your classes, your volunteer, other things that you might have done to demonstrate that and answer those. But, that's just on internships with like the federal government agencies. That's really key, or even entry-level positions one day.
Yeah, I would say two things. One, follow the instructions, so not just your resume, but I know I asked, for my compression relieving my military spouses, I say put military spouse in the subject line because I have a rule set up for the email for it to go. So just that help. You're detail-oriented, right? You read everything, you followed the instructions. And I'm sure you've all heard it, lock down your social media profile, because I'm not just looking at your resume. I'm going to Google you. I will look on LinkedIn, I'll look on Facebook, I'll look on Instagram, I'll look on Twitter. I'm all over those, and I want to see what you got going on and what you're saying, because if we bring you on board, you're representing our firm as well.
And I do also want to say on the federal internships and such, the applications are up, or the announcement is open for a certain period of time. I don't even see any of those applications till after it closes. They go through the first screening. I don't even see it till that point. So I'm sorry, it is 2 months or so after you initially applied before you're getting a call maybe for an interview, but that's a process.
Since you brought up USAJobs.com, can I ask you to, because our students normally think about audit as a career track. And everybody on the panel. So if you could, please talk about tax, government jobs, for government jobs, which places to go, what's a KSA, and things like that. And also a couple of questions that I'm sure will come up, but we only have about 15 minutes left. So do our students need a graduate degree? Or is it important to you? And internship, how important is it, and how best to go about finding it? And also various career tracks in accounting, if anybody can. But let's just start with Kimberly with his shaking.
I guess I'll quickly start and say, no, for us, you don't, at least in my team, financial management assurance, you do not need to have a graduate degree. Our other teams tend to be a little bit different. But, we are hoping that when you're coming in, you're close to your 150 hours and that you have an intent to sit for the CPA and earn your CPA exam. Or earn your CPA. But, that is, certainly important. As far as variety of jobs, I'm still doing audit, but I do performance audits primarily. We do financial audits. We do the financial audit of the U.S. federal government, which is obviously going to be your largest audit out there in the world. But like I said, we also write the standards and such. But we also FASAB, which is the Federal Accounting Standards Board. The AM singing there, but they're kind of housed within us, and so they're writing the standards. So, and that's a totally different kind of track, the standards track. But we also, within GAO, we have our back office accounting, our financial management people. We have also other teams, but within any federal agency, there are accountants, there are auditors, there are finance people. It is just that you don't really realize that are there. In that there's also what is called the Inspector General Office. All the major agencies have an Inspector General, which is kind of like an internal auditor. It's a different aspect, but certainly one of interest. And DOD is a very large Inspector General office.
So for tax, at our firm, we don't require you to have your your graduate degree, but we also we're looking for CPAs or people who are going to be CPAs soon. So that's often the fastest way to get your hours that you need. We have some folks that come on board who who are working full-time and then working towards their masters to do that. We have others who are, already CPAs or they're on their way to their CPA. We do allow folks to study at home, and we give incentives and opportunities for people to be off to study and to take the exam. Public accounting tax is, what I like about it is it's kind of project-based, so you're not doing the same thing, everyday type stuff. You've got this business that's come in, and you can specialize in, S Corps, C Corps, partnerships, all the different types of things. I specialize in individual tax just because that's kind of where my heart lies. So there's a opportunity to delve in deeper into a type of tax return or a type of industry, say construction or real estate or professional services, doctors. So you can kind of get a width and a depth of knowledge, and it's kind of something new every day. And if you hated group projects, I have news for you. You're going to have them during work, too. So just get used to that.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to your question about resumes. There's staff at Mason that are dedicated and help you to improving your resume. Please make sure all of you use it. I remember when I was in college, Career Services had particular individuals that focus on cleaning and ensuring your resume was appropriate for your interviews. And I was fascinated with the fact that not many people actually met with those individuals. So please make sure you kind of do that. Take it up on yourself to make sure your resume has been proofread. There's no spelling mistakes, that sort of things. I know it sounds very basic, but you'll be surprised how individuals don't do that. And then as far as PwC, we're a professional services firm. We have advisory, which is consulting, assurance, tax practices. Probably you can name it and you can find it at PwC. Obviously, we're a big firm. But so I started my career in insurance, and within insurance, there's specific industry sectors. If you want to primarily focus on banks, credit unions, that's what I used to do. So there's also very specific clienteles that you can tailor depending on your interest. But also, we're a fast-paced, kind of dynamic industry in the sense that we're trying to keep up with the technology that's coming out there. So I started a new role where I'm just focusing on learning new tools to kind of, like I said before, automate and make the audit more efficient. But those are the kind of things that you always have to have an open mindedness and be ready to kind of learn new stuff. So sometimes you might start your career path thinking, oh, all I'm going to do is banks, but then things happen and things change. So just be willing to kind of like learn new things.
So at Kearney, we work exclusively with the federal government, which means that we're focused in advisory, which would be your consulting work, and audits, whether that be a financial statement audit or a performance audit or even a contract audit, because the government is going to contract out work to firms, and we need to verify that that work is that they're billing the government appropriately. So even though it feels like maybe we're not working with the federal government, indirectly we are. We don't require our students to have a graduate degree or 150 credit hours. In the long term, for your career, it's better to go one of those two routes. We want you to be CPAs, but Kearney will support that path for you. We'll help you get the 150 credit hours however you choose, so you don't have to have that coming in, certainly. In terms of internships, we do summer internships. Some of our Mason interns will stay on year-round, but our internships are in the summer primarily. We'll recruit for that heavily when we come back for the career fair. I think it's October 4th. And we're on Hire Mason. Our internship is posted on Hire Mason. I think we reserve 6 or 8 spots for Mason students specifically because Kearney really believes in the Mason community. So that would be one way.
And a lot of similarities at CLA as well, where don't require the master's, but we do encourage you to be pretty close to that 150, if not already there, just because we also want you to eventually get your CPA license if you stay with the assurance side of the practice or the tax or something. But thinking outside the big box of like the traditional audit and tax, outsourcing is a big practice, and we've spoken to it a little bit here. But that's where clients hire us to come on site and be there as big as their CFO and actually run their accounting department, or they might hire us to just simply be their accountant to do their daily bookkeeping and that type of thing. So the outsourcing division is a pretty robust type of practice where you're not doing the same thing. And then some people come in and they really get excited by the technology type audits, and so they might move towards like being an IT auditor, and then that might go into more of like a cybersecurity expert and that type of thing. So that career path can take on a different shape for folks.
Yep. So what we've already said about, full service accounting and advisory firms, same as with BDO in terms of different service lines and tracks. One thing I would say is when it comes to the advisory practice, which is more of the consulting, maybe transaction advisory services, or like I said, we have a practice at BDO of about 60 consultants, and a lot of them work specifically with our government contractor clients. So again, private businesses that do business with the federal government, there's a lot of compliance-related issues that come up, and we have a team that focuses on that. But generally, those special consulting practices, the advisory practices, transaction advisory, whatever the consulting is, they generally source from the audit and tax associates. So generally, most of our associates come in one of the core services. Not that we don't have other practice groups that hire in directly, because we do, but many of our associates come in through the standard channels, and then they move on to the advisory practice because they find something that really interests them. So having the ability to do that is nice, to be able to get some core experience and then move around from there.
So kind of go a different route. So just like you're right, we're a full-service public accounting firm. I think what you'll notice between everyone is we've used the word culture, and I think that's kind of the differentiator between a lot of firms, is the kind of culture. And so we mentioned doing internships and externships because we don't only want to make sure that we like you, you need to make sure you like us as well. And so that's why I suggest doing as many externships and internships as possible. And use your career services. I mean, we all post our jobs on the career services website. Forgive me, I don't know the name of the platform. But use your career services. That's where you're going to find the opportunities. And another thing to address, we talked about having the 150 or a master's. Here, I get this question from my interns all the time. Should I pay for a master's degree to get my 150, like a master's of accounting? Sorry to George Mason. But my suggestion is a CPA will always trump your master's. So if you have like 10 more credits to get, just go get those rather than paying for the master's, only because a CPA does trump it in the end. And I just think, it's smart to do that. And you can start working earlier as well.
I'm going to ask us to have some of the questions later during the networking. You can ask those questions one-on-one. But let's have one more question.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a sophomore and an accounting major. And you talk about Handshake, like career services. And I tried looking up, but most of the interview dates and all those, they have like be a junior or a senior or a master's. So they're not offering that for the sophomores. So is there like another way we can do that, or are there like externships that sophomores can be part of?
So I know for our firm, we currently have, excuse me, the intern to full-time on, and then by later this fall, we'll have the externships populated on there. So I would just give it a few, but they should be up by the end of the year. We usually do our interviews for externships a little later than we do the internships.
Yeah, and I have my amazing recruiting director right next to you, so she probably knows better.
So usually, and I'm sure most firms are, it's like December is when those pop up, and it's more of a spring recruiting for the externships, whereas fall is really your typical intern.
And I'll say for us, like right now, we've got our summer 2019 announcement up, and it's going to close October 8th. We have had sophomores in the past do the internship. One key is that by time you would come on board, which would be May, that for us, and it's a federal government requirement, is that you've had 12 semester hours of accounting, 6 of which can be business law. So sometimes you do meet that as a sophomore, but sometimes you don't. So that's I can't get around that. And We also do fall internships, which can be full or part-time. That announcement would go up probably in the spring.
Yeah, PwC has a program called START. I need to double check if it's posted on the website or not, but that's usually for sophomores. And then once you're a junior, there's a program called Elevate. That is kind of a 2-3 day event. And then Advance, which is our normal internship, which it's the full time, kind of 40 hours a week.
So I'm sure we all have more questions, and I'd like the session to continue. But let's finish the session right now and start interacting and networking and asking questions face to face. So my thanks goes to the panel. Excellent job. I really appreciate you being here. And just feel free to walk around and ask questions from any of the members of the panel. And we also have people available here from the firms who are not on the panel, but came here with their colleagues. And thanks to Baker Tilly for sponsoring and organizing. Thank you.
No, I ran solo.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm Bryce.
Bryce, how are you?
I know, my heels. I brought them, but I don't. Yeah, the Job Quest you're standing.
Oh, awesome.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay.
Which one? Job Quest? Oh, yes, I was there. I was Oh, it was terrible. I was like, emailing Carrie. I'm like, I just spent trying to find
The reason we would look at an audit first your lender's requirement, right? So if you are borrowing money and it's required, then we come in and do a lot of investors. Really those are the two main ones. So once you start building your company up, so